Alright, bet. So Avengers Doomsday comes out December 18th. And before that happens, we need to figure out which MCU phase is actually the best of all. Starting with phase 1, 6 movies, and we got a tier list for it. Let's get straight into it. Alright, so the tier list we got for this video are A, B, C, S, and F. I'm not doing D because D tier is just another F tier. And so yeah, but we got 6 movies total. Iron Man, Incredible Hulk, Iron Man 2, Thor, Captain America First Avenger, and the Avengers. And we're going in release order. So let's get straight into it. Alright, so Iron Man was made in 2008. The one that started everything, and I mean everything. Without this movie working, there's no MCU, no Avengers, no Endgame, no Doomsday, none of it. This movie had to work, and it absolutely did. Now, Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark is still one of the best casting decisions in movie history. Literally comic accurate. Now, the villain is Obadiah Stane, Jeff Bridges with a bald head and a beard, looking like someone's a rich uncle who just snapped. Genuinely threatening for like 80% of the movie. Then they put him in a big robot suit and he becomes just another final boss. Now we got Pepper Potts and Happy Hogan.
I was trying to scare him. I can't tell.
They're both solid. Rhodey, played by Terrence Howard, is cool.
Next time, baby.
But then they replace him in the sequel.
General's palace. Drop it at his feet. I'm like, boom. You looking for this?
And hope nobody noticed. Marvel was replacing people left and right at this point, just like DC did. And they were just praying we keep up and not notice. Now that end scene where he just says, "I am Iron Man,"
I am Iron Man,
in front of the full press conference and completely ignores the script S.H.I.E.L.D. gave him, still tough. One of the best moments in MCU history, I might say. Now, does it feel a little small compared to what came after? Yeah, but that's a compliment disguised as a criticism. This movie was the seed for the biggest franchise in movie history, and we're gonna have to throw this in A tier. It deserves all the credit it gets and then some. Now, The Incredible Hulk, also made in 2008. And I need you to understand something. This movie came out the same year as Iron Man, and somehow nobody remembers it exists. Now, Edward Norton in Marvel had a little bit of beef behind the scenes. He never came back. They quietly replaced him with Mark Ruffalo and hope we all move on. And we definitely did. We did. Immediately, no questions asked, Ruffalo showed up in Avengers, and everyone, we all accepted it. Now, the villain in this movie, the villain is Abomination, Tim Roth, turning into a bigger, uglier Hulk. And look, Tim Roth, great actor. He did not need to be in this movie. He showed up, gave it his all, and the movie forgot about him immediately. And then Abomination disappeared for like 13 years until She-Hulk brought him back, looking completely different, and nobody cared either, because this movie was so unforgettable. And that show was buns. Then we got Betty Ross is there. General Ross is there yelling about stuff. That's it. That's the whole supporting cast of the movie. Nobody memorable. Nobody you think about after the credits roll. I mean, man, disaster, may I say the least. Is it a bad movie though? Not really. Is it a good movie? It's in the MCU. I mean, technically that's the best thing I can say about it. F tier though, 100%. We're throwing this movie in F tier. Not because it's unwatchable. It's fine. F tier because it's the only MCU movie you can't straight up skip and miss absolutely nothing important except the Tim Roth performance that definitely deserves better. Now, Iron Man 2, made in 2010, the first MCU movie that felt like homework. Here's the thing about Iron Man 2. It has moments, the suitcase suit at the racetrack, tough. That scene goes hard and you know it. Literally probably my favorite suit, like assembly to this day. But then the movie remembers it had to introduce Black Widow, set up S.H.I.E.L.D., tease Thor's hammer, and give Tony daddy issues, and have an actual villain on top of all of that. Now, Mickey Rourke showing up with the electric whips like he came from a completely different and arguably better movie, tough. Now, Whiplash is generally one of the most wasted villains in MCU history. Mickey is a great actor. The electric whip concept is tough. And then they sideline him for like 45 minutes so Tony can have daddy issues and Justin Hammer can do awkward comedy on the side. Now, Justin Hammer, played by Sam Rockwell, is supposed to be the comedic rival villain. And he's...
Were you talking to the right guy?
He's fine. He's harmless, which is the problem. You can't have two forgettable villains in one movie and expect it to work. Now, Black Widow's introduction, though, actually tough. Scarlett Johansson walked in and immediately became one of the best parts of the MCU going forward. That's the one W this movie gets on the side characters. Now, this movie as a whole, it's doing too much. It's the group project where one person is trying to do everyone else's part and messing all of them up at the same time. But honestly, I think this movie deserves a C tier. It aged better than people give it credit for, but it's still the weakest Iron Man by a mile. And that's saying something since there's only 3 of them. Now, Thor came out in 2011. Kenneth Branagh, how do I say that? The Shakespeare guy.
Mother know you weareth her drapes.
Directed a movie about a space Viking getting his powers taken away and falling in love with Natalie Portman in New Mexico. And it somehow worked. Now, Thor smashing that coffee mug and yelling, "Another!"
This drink, I like it.
I know, it's great, right?
Another!
is genuinely one of the funniest moments in the Phase 1 of MCU. And I will die on that hill. Might even be one of the funniest movies to this day, and I think I stand on that. It caught me off guard too. I mean, that Asgard stuff looks a little rough now. Some of those sets have not aged gracefully. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, bro, that CGI, it was not built to survive 15 years as it was. It was meant to survive 2011 and 2011 alone, and it barely made it. But here's the thing: Chris Hemsworth just is Thor. Another like RDJ is Iron Man. Perfect casting. From day one, zero adjustment period. Dude walked in, owned the role, and you know that carries the whole movie, and it carried on through other movies. And then there's Loki. Now Loki, played by Tom Hiddleston, is the best villain introduction in all of Phase 1, and that kind of, it says itself. You know, the guy is charming, manipulative, actually has a real motivation you understand, and kind of root for him, even when he's being terrible. That's hard to pull off, and they nailed it first try, I must say. Now the supporting cast around it, you got Jane Foster, Darcy, Eric Selvig. They're fine. Natalie Portman is doing her best, but Jane Foster is honestly one of the most forgettable love interests in MCU history. She's just there to give Thor a reason to stay on Earth, and that's pretty much it. Now Agent Coulson showing up as a connective tissue between all the Phase 1 movies is actually a great though. Like, every time he appears, you get hype, I got hype, because you know the universe is clicking together and something tough about to come out. Now this movie, overall, I believe it deserves a B tier. It's fun, charming, a little rough around the edges. Like, honestly, it's not terrible. It isn't terrible. I'm giving it a B tier. Now, Captain America: The First Avenger came out in 2011 as well. The most underrated movie in Phase 1. And I genuinely think people just forget how good this is. Now, little Steve Rogers refusing to quit, though he's literally built like my thumb. That's the whole character right there in 5 minutes. You understand immediately, and that's why he gets the serum. And not literally anyone else. The writing just works. Now, the World War II setting was a bold choice. That could have been mid, and it could have flopped. But instead, it hits different. It feels genuinely old school in a way that none of the other Phase 1 movies do. And that's actually its superpower. Now, the villain is Red Skull, Hugo Weaving, with a literal red skull for a face, running a Nazi splinter group called Hydra that you'll learn about later. And here's the thing: Red Skull, actually one of the best Phase 1 villains. He's genuinely menacing, has a clear goal, and Hugo Weaving brings real weight to the role. The problem is, he disappears at the end, gets teleported by the Tesseract, and Marvel left him alone for 10 years before bringing him back in Infinity War with a completely different actor. Forgotten, bro. Now, Bucky Barnes is the best friend who dies, or seems to die, is genuinely emotional, and sets up one of the best character arcs in the entire MCU. Peggy Carter, though, is honestly one of the best love interests in the MCU history. Actually has a personality, actually matters to the plot, and that final radio scene, man, between her and Steve is the reason this movie almost hits S tier. But I mean, man, if that scene doesn't even give you a little bit, you don't have a soul. That's not an opinion, that's just a purely boring fact. But yeah, I'm gonna have to throw this movie in A tier. Clean, emotional, underrated. I mean, people slept on this one, and they shouldn't, especially with Doomsday bring back Steve Rogers. Now, the Avengers came out in 2012. The movie that proved this whole thing was actually going to work, alright? That shot, you know the one. First time I saw that, man, I was done, finished, cooked. That shot alone justified everything that came before it. 4 years of build up, 6 movies, and then they put every character in the same room, and it worked immediately. The Hulk punching Thor out of frame after the battle. Tony making shawarma, Loki being the perfect villain for a team that had never worked together. Like, dude, he played them. He could play them against each other. And speaking of Loki, the reason Loki works so perfectly as the Avengers villain is because his whole plan is to make them fight each other.
Fighting you. This usually works.
Well, performance issues, it's not uncommon. 1 out of 5.
Which means the villain is literally designed to expose every weakness of every hero simultaneously. That's genuinely smart writing, and it's why this movie's conflict feels earned in a way. Most superhero team-up movies just don't do that at all. Now, Nick Fury pulling the whole thing together, Agent Coulson getting his moment, and then yeah, they did that. And it worked because you actually cared about Coulson by this point after seeing him in 3 movies. That's what Phase 1 built toward, and the Avengers cashed it in perfectly. There will never be another experience like watching the Avengers for the first time. That moment is gone, and it's never coming back. And Doomsday is going to try its hardest to recreate it, but like nothing touched the original. Now this obviously is going to go in S tier, not even a discussion. Alright, do not argue me with this. If you do not have this in S tier, there is something wrong with it. But yeah, alright, so the final standings, S tier, the Avengers, A tier, Iron Man, and Captain America First Avenger. Both deserve more credit than they get. B tier, we got Thor. Fun, a little rough, still valid. And C tier, Iron Man 2, it tried its best. And last but not least, F tier, we got Incredible Hulk. I'm sorry, Edward Norton, but we all moved on, and we're good, man. Now, if y'all want to see me do Phase 2 and Phase 3 before Doomsday drops, hit the subscribe button. We're running it all the way up to December 18th. Drop your own tier list in the comments, like the video, and I'll see y'all boys in the next one. Peace.